Struggle is often misunderstood. Society conditions us to believe that difficulty is something to be ashamed of, that if we're struggling, it means we're failing. But this could not be further from the truth. Struggle is not an indictment on your strength. It is evidence that you're in the process of growth. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has walked through the valley of struggle. It is not weakness that brings you to your knees. It is the weight of transformation pressing you down so it can raise you up differently than you were before. The presence of struggle is the very proof that you haven't given up. It means you're still fighting, still reaching, still trying to become something greater than you were yesterday. There is a misconception that strong people don't struggle, that the powerful, the resilient, the successful are somehow exempt from hardship. But if you peel back the curtain, what you'll see is that their strength was not born in comfort, it was forged in chaos. They didn't become strong because life was easy. They became strong because life was hard and they refused to break. The weight you are carrying, the pressure you feel, the moments when it seems like nothing is working, that is the resistance that builds resilience. Muscles don't grow without tension, and neither do hearts, minds, or souls. Your struggle is building something in you that ease never could. There are moments in life when everything in you wants to quit, when it would be easier to back down, shut off, or run away. And yet here you are, still breathing, still pushing, still choosing to move forward when it would be so much easier to retreat. That is not weakness. That is strength in its rawest, purest form. It's the strength of endurance, of grit, of soul. It doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes nobody sees it but you. But it's there, and it's powerful. You are proving every day that your spirit is stronger than your circumstance. And that kind of inner strength, the kind earned in darkness, is unshakable. Think about the things you've overcome, the seasons you thought would destroy you, the moments when fear was louder than hope. You're still here. You may have been bent, bruised, or even broken, but not defeated. That is strength. Not pretending everything is fine, not putting on a mask, but standing in your truth, carrying your struggle, and showing up anyway. The people who walk through struggle with their heads held high aren't weaker. They're warriors. They're the ones who understand that pain is part of the process, not the enemy of progress. And that is where real power begins to form, not from pretending, but from persisting. We live in a world obsessed with instant success and effortless beauty, where everyone wants the glory, but few are willing to endure the grind. But it's the struggle that separates the pretenders from the powerful. Anyone can smile when everything's going well, but it takes another level of strength to keep walking when the world feels like it's falling apart. It takes courage to keep showing up when there's no promise of reward. And that courage is not weakness. It's not failure. It's the slow, steady rise of someone becoming more than what they were yesterday. Someone choosing purpose over pity, fight over flight, and growth over guilt. You were not meant to skip the struggle. You were meant to be shaped by it. It is the sacred ground where champions are formed, not in moments of comfort, but in the crucible of challenge. The storm is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your becoming. Every time you face resistance, every time you are met with hardship and choose not to give up, you are proving that your struggle is not your shame. It's your signal that something greater is being born, something stronger, something unstoppable. Pain is not just something you go through. It's something that transforms you. At first, it feels like Pain is tearing you apart, breaking everything you once believed in, stripping you of all that's familiar. But if you look closer, if you dare to stay present in the fire, you'll begin to see that pain is a teacher. It's one of the most brutal, unrelenting teachers life will ever give you, but it's also one of the most honest. It doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It tells you the truth about who you are, what you value, and what you need to change. That truth, as raw as it is, becomes the beginning of a deeper purpose, one that could never have been revealed in comfort. Everyone talks about purpose like it's this perfect, polished destination. But real purpose is born in chaos. It comes from the nights you cried yourself to sleep, from the rejections that made you question your worth, from the loss that shattered your heart. You don't discover purpose when everything is going your way. You find it when nothing makes sense, and you're forced to ask deeper questions. Why am I still here? What is this pain trying to show me? What can I do with everything I've been through? That is the moment your soul starts speaking. That is the moment pain begins to shape you into something far greater than you ever imagined. Pain has a way of revealing strength you never knew existed. When you're going through it, it feels like weakness. You're exhausted. You're raw. You're vulnerable. But over time, the very thing that brought you to your knees becomes the foundation you rise from. Pain stretches you, tests you, deepens your empathy, sharpens your vision. It gives you eyes to see beyond your own comfort and into the lives of others. That's why those who've suffered often become the greatest leaders, healers, and creators. Because they've walked through darkness and now carry light. They've learned how to turn their wounds into wisdom. Purpose is not something that just lands in your lap. It's revealed through the breaking. It's carved out through the nights when everything in you screamed to give up, but something deeper whispered to keep going. That whisper, that's purpose in its early form. It starts small, quiet, but it grows louder with every step forward you take through your pain. And before long, the thing that once crushed you becomes the platform you stand on. What hurt you doesn't disappear, but it becomes meaningful. It becomes part of the message you were meant to carry, the story you were meant to tell, the strength you were meant to share. You may not understand the purpose of your pain in the moment. That's okay. You're not supposed to. Understanding often comes after survival. What matters most is that you hold on long enough to see the transformation take place. Because pain always changes you. It's just a matter of whether you let it define you or refine you. Those who find purpose are the ones who decide that their pain will not be wasted. They refuse to let their struggle be meaningless. They choose to take what broke them and build something from it, not just for themselves, but for the world around them. The truth is, every painful experience you've ever had has prepared you for something. The betrayal taught you discernment. The failure taught you perseverance. The heartbreak taught you compassion. Nothing was in vain. Every scar is a lesson. Every wound, a seed of future growth. You are not just surviving your pain. You are becoming someone through it, someone with insight, someone with purpose. And the power you're developing through your suffering will one day be the reason someone else doesn't give up in theirs. ChatGPT said, there is a dangerous lie that has been planted deep into the hearts of so many people, the belief that their story is something to hide, that their past is too messy, too broken, too shameful to ever be shared, that the things they've been through disqualify them from respect, from connection, from greatness. But the truth is, your story is not your shame. Your story is your superpower. It is the very thing that sets you apart in a world full of people pretending to be perfect. What you've survived, what you've endured, what you've risen from. Those are not marks of failure. They are signs of strength. They are the reasons someone else will find hope in your voice. When you carry your past like a secret, you give it the power to imprison you. But when you share it with purpose, you take that power back. You flip the narrative. You become the author instead of the victim. You start telling your story from a place of healing rather than hiding. And that shift, no matter how small it begins, is monumental. Because the moment you stop letting shame control your silence is the moment your story begins to impact lives beyond your own. Not everyone will understand your journey, but someone out there needs your truth. Someone is drowning in what you already survived, and your story could be their lifeline. It's easy to believe that vulnerability makes you weak, but the reality is it makes you real. It connects you to others. It reminds the world that it's okay to be human. We live in a culture obsessed with perfection, where people filter their lives and bury their pain just to be accepted. But it's the raw, unfiltered stories that truly change lives. Because when someone sees you owning your past, when they witness you refusing to be ashamed of what you've lived through, they see a new possibility for themselves. They realize they're not alone. They see that healing is possible, that survival is strength, and that brokenness does not mean the end. Every scar you carry tells a story, not of defeat, but of survival, not of shame, but of strength. And the world needs to hear more stories like that. Stories that tell the truth, not the polished version, not the edited highlight reel, but the real, gut-wrenching, transformative truth. The kind of truth that reaches people in their darkest moments. When you share your story with authenticity, you create space for others to do the same. You become a mirror that reflects courage instead of judgment. You become proof that pain does not cancel your purpose. It refines it, and your story becomes a vessel for hope. Too often, people wait to tell their story until they feel like it's finished, until they've tied up every loose end and conquered every demon. But healing is not a destination, it's a process, and your voice is needed now, even in the middle of it. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be honest, because truth, even when it's messy, has the power to move mountains. It breaks chains, it changes narratives. And the world doesn't need another filtered success story. It needs the raw, gritty truth of someone who's been through hell and decided to keep walking anyway. So don't silence your story because of fear. Don't bury it under guilt or insecurity. Don't believe the lie that your past disqualifies you. It qualifies you to lead others who are still lost. Your story is not too dark. It's not too broken. It's exactly what someone else needs to hear to believe in the light again. There is power in your truth, strength in your scars, and freedom in your voice. And when you dare to speak that truth, to own it fully, you don't just free yourself, you free others too. Struggle has a way of stripping everything down to the essentials. It pulls you into a place where distractions fall away, and all you're left with is the truth of who you are, of what you really want, of what you made of. In those moments, survival feels like the only option. Just get through it. Just make it to tomorrow. And while survival is a worthy fight, it cannot be the final goal. If all you do is survive your pain, you miss the deeper purpose hidden within it. Because struggle isn't just something to endure. It's something to build from. It's the raw material for your greatest growth. It's the blueprint for your breakthrough. What you've been through holds power, not just to push you forward, but to shape something far beyond what you ever imagined. The danger of merely surviving is that it keeps you locked in reaction mode. You're just getting by, dodging pain, waiting for relief. But when you decide to step beyond that, to build from the pain instead of just out of it, something shifts. You stop letting your wounds control you and you start using them to create something new. That might mean building strength in your character, deepening your discipline, or developing a sense of purpose that never existed before. Struggle is not a signal to shrink. It's a challenge to grow. And the people who turn pain into power aren't the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who looked their pain in the face and said, "You will not be wasted." Everything you faced, the losses, the betrayals, the failures, the doubt, has given you bricks. At first, they feel like weights dragging you down, but if you look at them differently, they can become the foundation for something greater. Pain gives you vision. Disappointment gives you clarity. Rejection gives you redirection. Every struggle holds a lesson, a skill, a strength that can be harnessed, but you have to be intentional. You have to make the decision that this pain will not just be something you survive, it will be something you use. Build a mindset, build a mission, build something that outlasts the moment. Because survival might get you to tomorrow, but vision will take you far beyond it. There are people out there waiting for what only your struggle can produce. Maybe it's a book, a business, a movement, or a message. Maybe it's the wisdom you pass down to your children or the strength you offer a friend in their darkest hour. Your struggle, when used with purpose, becomes a tool for transformation, not just for you, but for the world around you. When you've been through the fire and come out the other side, you carry something that can't be faked. Authority. People listen to those who have walked through pain and emerge with purpose. You become a voice of truth in a world full of noise. And that truth can change lives, but only if you decide to use it. There's a reason you didn't break. There's a reason you're still here. Struggle doesn't leave you the same, and it's not meant to. It was sent to strengthen your spirit, sharpen your focus, and clarify your calling. But it's up to you whether it builds you or breaks you. Too many people get out of the fire and never talk about it. They bury it and move on. But if you're brave enough to dig into it, to face it head on, to build from it, then you don't just overcome. You rise, you elevate, you become someone who not only survived, but created something from the chaos. That is the real power of pain. It becomes the forge for your future. When you use your struggle as a foundation, you stop being controlled by your past and start writing your own future. It's no longer about what happened to you. It becomes about what you did with it. You chose to learn. You chose to grow. You chose to build when everything around you said quit. That decision to rise from the ashes and not return to dust is the turning point. It's what separates the ones who merely endure from the ones who transform. Struggle does not get the final say unless you let it. When you build from your pain, you rewrite the story. You declare that this chapter was not the end, it was the beginning of something greater.